This is sky. Won't you rise? Sail apart this veil of lies. Give us back to life. This is sky. Won't you rise?
A warm welcome. This is episode 211 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast. We've been hitting it hard and fast in 2026 after my hiatus in 2025. And I have got a guest all the way from Iowa in the good old USMA. Mutual friend of mine and just a clappers is Sean Logan, a.k.a. Sabotage on Stu's Wrestling Podcast. Sorry it's so early for you, your time, Sean.
It's all good, brother. I'm here for you.
Now, your career, mate, you've done some fantastic things. And, of course, you were trained by Seth Rollins at Black and Brave. Just, learning to train under Seth. And what Seth taught you early on with your training.
Yeah, man. So I trained at Harley Race before Seth. And I remember when I first went to Seth's, I was like, man, it's just such more fast-paced. The conditioning is just way crazier. He would make you do a thing called CrossFit. Harley was very old, just kind of, 1,000 squat type stuff. And so I remember that was a big difference for in-ring cardio. And the next thing, I remember just such more fast-paced, like how pro wrestling match was just so quick, and I just made you ready 3 months versus not. But like Harley, like I would say, I love the training. It was just very much more slow paced and more methodical. But I remember Seth made you like a wrestler in ring shape in 3 months. So I just enjoyed that. Like, not that like Harley didn't waste their time, but like I really enjoyed just like, all right, this is the fundamentals. Let's get you ready for in ring and start getting matches on the indies.
Two ways of going about it, the old school. And then, Seth more so with the new school ideals. So great, blending the two, I'm sure, which has helped you to get where you are today.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think with Seth too, that dude, whether you're out there loving or hating him, I really do think he's one of the hardest workers I've ever met in my life because, just the other day, 4 months back, I remember it's Thanksgiving and it's 4:00. Like, we should all be having dinner at 4:00. And the dude sent me a 3-minute voice memo of critiquing my match. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? So, when I was in class, he was always there, obviously things change and, he gets a wife and a kid. But when I was there in 2019, he was there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He'd be on Raw Monday and, whatever house shows he have Friday, Saturday, So he was always there for every one of my classes. So I can't ever take away any credit. He's one of the hardest workers I've ever met.
This segues perfectly. We've seen a hooded man on Raw, etc. And then we get to Elimination Chamber. Now, Justin Clapper sent me a video of this.
Yes.
You were under a hood. I'm going to put the photo up to support this, of course.
Yeah.
You were at Elimination Chamber. You were all for there to see. Adam Pearce going absolutely crazy. What's going on? Wondering who the hell you are.
Yeah.
Just being at the show at Elimination Chamber and them unmasking you, and hooding you.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was a wild week, February. I'm always trying to do better each year. I want to make sure that this year is better than the last year, and a lot of extra work with WWE. And so I had February, had Cleveland, it had Memphis, and I remember I got United Center, and that's kind of like near my home stomping ground. So when that all came about, we got the spot. And, it was kind of crazy because I didn't see Seth all night, I was like, what what is going on, And so with that being said, we're live, we go, and yeah, I climb the cage, right? And I get pulled down by some security. And then the next thing that happens is Adam Pearce comes out and yanks my hood off. Turns out me, people are probably wondering what is that, but the night before on SmackDown, he was a Black and Brave student as well. So if some of these super fans start playing the cards right, figuring out, the guy in Friday Night SmackDown was a Black and Brave student. Then when you pull my mask off, and that was fantastic because Chicago is probably the home area where most of my fans are, and that happening. I mean, it's on a pay-per-view too. You can't ask for better, screen time at all. But yeah. So my job there was the kind of be able to get all the security and all the producers, to me. So then, Seth's got a clear pathway right to the Elimination Chamber, and no one's got to be there to stop him. So that's how he made his return with my little slithery way to distract everyone,
It'd be quite obvious to say the nerves play a factor. Being in that setting, me as a fan, this is like fan perspective. Of course, you've wrestled the independents for so many years now, but being on the platform of WWE, how are you feeling? What was your headspace in that situation? You don't want it to go wrong, do you? That it's
No,
they
yeah.
could be a future employer for you, couldn't they? So you need it to go perfectly. So what was your headspace on the day and then doing it?
So let's see. My headspace was interesting because that was my first PLE pay-per-view extra work. And a lot of times I feel like historically you don't get used for those type of extra work. We kind of usually sit back and I was just happy to be there. And so I kind of didn't have any expectations. And I think, there's a lot of, different, segues to how I got the spot. Now, with that being said, I would say the first nerves came in when they said I was going to, I was nervous to climb the cage. I was nervous to do the spot. But when they said I want to get the mask revealed, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually a spot that the world's going to know it's me, So I think that's when it came in, was that. And then, after the women's chamber match, I was like, oh my God, this is happening. But you want to be professional, you want to work there. And the goal is just to perform on this every single night, So it was weird because I did get some Vicks vapor rub. One of the extras had some. His name was Corn Boy, so he clutched up for me there. So he gave me some Vicks just to calm down, breathe easily. I would say the one thing I was nervous about. So when you're in the corner, the run, they call that corner where you hop over the barricade the shield corner. So, and I didn't get to plan the rehearsal on the run. I got to plan the climb the cage, because there was a segment, or there was a part where I wasn't the original masked man, so someone else got to rehearse all that. And then when it flipped, they were just like, "All right, Sean, climb the cage, practice that, and that's it. We got to go. Doors are gonna open." So I never got to practice the run and hit that corner. So when, LA Knight gets eliminated and Trick Williams gets eliminated, I'm hearing that, and then they're getting ready to send me. I'm just like, I'm gonna miss this left turn or trip, or everything starts going through your head. So I think the craziest thing was, though, it felt in the moment, it felt right. Okay. There wasn't a moment that happened where I was like, oh my God, I can't do this, everything just felt right. And sure, I mean, Sean, that was a spot that, but, a whole WWE spot, and I think the roar of running and just hearing the roar of the crowd just left right of you. Oh, man, it's just unreal, you know? And I think that was at the end of the bit. I remember security's pulling me off. And I remember just looking at the entire United Center. And I was like, security, like chill, like slow down, you know? I just want to soak it in, you know? I want to be able to look at 20,000 fans at this entire United Center where Michael Jordan, you know, played. And it's like you want to just like see it all. So I could close my eyes and see it all. It happened so fast. So I would say the moral of that is yes, there's nerves. You know, they always say that, you know, if you don't have nerves, then you shouldn't be in this business. But I guess, you know, on top of that, it did feel right, you know? Like, I don't get me wrong. I get nervous. I start coughing and then, like, I want to puke, right? However, it felt right, you know? I felt like, I don't want to say I felt like I belonged, but it really did. I felt like, you know, a situation that I was ready for.
Amazing. Great for them to be back at the United Centre. When it was newly opened in 94, I remember SummerSlam 1994 being there. It was a newly opened arena. Obviously, they've used the Rosemont for years. That was their go-to place. Other companies have used United Centre along the way. But yeah, just amazing. But cool to hear that you dealt with a high-pressure situation and, you know, you managed them nerves for the good, mate. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's like pinch yourself moment, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, for real. Also, I think I heard this wasn't probably the main event, but it was SummerSlam 94. Was it the first held at the United Center? Like the Undertaker versus Undertaker?
I think you're correct. Now, the main match for me was obviously the steel cage, Brett knowing, you know, that was
Okay,
that was the go-to match. The Bulldog getting involved, all the family and all that, man. That was the match. That was the match of the night. But I am a huge Bret Hart fan.
Well, that's great. Yeah, no, Brett. I mean, he's top 5 for sure. I think I remember that because Undertaker's my number 1. So I think that's why I remember Taker versus Taker.
We've got Justin Clapper in the comments as well. Just pull him up now in between. All right, JC. Hope you're well there in Wisconsin, my mate. And yeah, I'd like to talk to you about your match with Jay Lethal. Just amazing. The man's been synonymous with pro wrestling for well over 20 years now. Amazing how his career went, and just getting in there with a veteran of the game, a man that's been everywhere, has adapted, has changed his character over the years, of course, as he's gone along. Getting in there, pitting your wits with Jay Lethal.
Yeah, wrestling him, probably the biggest match of my career. You know, he went, did the alter ego as Black Machismo, and we wrestled at a bar in Chicago called the Cubby Bear, and that is legitimately across the street from Wrigley Field where the Cubs play. Now, that being said, you know, like I said, I'm always trying to have a better year and top the year, and I thought that was the craziest, not just like, you know, I thought it was the craziest match of the year for me. But 2 days later is when I did the Elimination Chamber spot. So I was like, what a week, you know? And then the day, you know, in between that, I wrestled at Freelance Wrestling, which probably is the hottest independent show in Chicago. So it was just a fantastic week. But yeah, Jay Lethal, I studied up some matches. I wanted to see how he does the Macho Man gimmick and how I could play off that, because when I faced him in that match, so I do 2 characters. One is Sabotage Sean Logan, and the other is the influencer Sean Logan. So with this character, I did the Sean Logan gimmick, and I use my phone, and I'm a social media influencer, and I will do some phone spots, you know, whether it's, you know, flash flashlight on you, like cut you off, or it's free the film wrestling. You know, you just try to be creative with it, and I think that's one thing with doing the gimmick. So you kind of feel like a comedian, okay, and you kind of feel like you're going city to city, and you know, you could be like, oh, I have this material that, Memphis didn't see, but St. Louis saw. So like, I'm gonna try that material because none of these fans saw it. However, I wrestle in Chicago a lot, and one thing is, trying to come up with new material, and I think that's something with this pro wrestling gimmick that is something I would have never thought I would have to encounter. But I feel like a comedian with it because you're going town to town trying new material, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. If this joke lands, So um, that was one thing I wanted to. I wanted to try some new material in the Chicago area. However, he seemed to like all my current material, I guess. So that I wasn't gonna say no. I'm not gonna. I wanted to maybe have a thing where I filmed me doing an elbow drop, and then that didn't go right, and it flipped over, and then he'd elbow drop me, but he liked my original material ideas, so I mean, if it isn't broke, don't fix it, So we kind of did that, and we went out there, main event. I think we went about 12 minutes or so, but it was awesome. And that was the thing too. A lot of times you wrestle these veterans. You want to get all the feedback. You want to, I also was trying to make sure like it was a great rep for me to go out, talk in the ring. Because I mean, 2-3 years ago, I'm sitting there just like, all right, spot, like next spot, next spot, next spot. So you want to make sure that you're just comfortable with someone that's on TV, so that like you belong, that you're one, not that you're like one of them. I'm not trying to like down myself, but like just like know that you belong, and that was kind of, I was talking out there in the ring and I felt really good. And, I did my heat. I would say a thing, a lot of times you wrestle a vet or a star, right? You'll be conducting your heat in the men's boom. You got that spot down and then you're doing the heat and you're just listening to your partner out there, try to really coordinate when let's get to the comeback, let's get to the next spot, let's get to the hope, whatever the crowd needs. And he really let me kind of conduct that myself out there. So that really gave me a confidence boost, just that I was the one who kind of initiated the turning point of the match, and not just listening for him, So at the end of the match, did the dealio where, hey, is there any advice? Is there anything I did wrong? Is there anything I could work on? And obviously every wrestler is different. However, he's like, man, there wasn't really anything out there. And I was like, I'm an eager, hungry, professional wrestler. I'm like, give me something, And he's like, man, you took care of me. I'm safe. I'm good, brother. And I was like, okay, man, like, well, I feel good, and maybe, every wrestler is different. Maybe some people don't want to talk about it. Just maybe some people, not that they don't care, but like some people just like want to, okay, it happened, let's move on. Maybe it sucked, right? Maybe he just didn't want to hurt my feelings. I don't know, but I really tried, and I think we had a really good chemistry and bond together. So I hope that he was truthful with how he felt with the match. There was a buddy of mine, he did ask him as well on a separate conversation, and he said the same stuff. So I guess it's Jay Lethal. He doesn't have to try to he can say whatever he wants about me. Nothing's gonna change, So so it felt really good, and like I just had a great time, and that was one of those peak moments in my career where I'm like, we're in February, that was a top match of my career, and then 2 days later we had the United Center spot. So so far I feel like we're already topping the year, because I a lot of I had a wrestler the other day tell me, he said at what age do you just throw in the towel and like call it if you're not signed, and I was just like, well, I don't really think, you should have an age for this stuff. Whatever you are doing in life, like let's say with podcasting, it's like how many views, how many subscribers until you just throw in the towel. It's like I don't think that's necessarily how you should gauge this stuff. I think you should always just be like, did I top the year before? And that's kind of my goal. As long as I'm topping the year before, we're moving up in life, and sure, maybe there'll be a year where it's like even, and then maybe if there's another year where it's like even or below, maybe you should like sit back and, recollect yourself and figure out what's going on, or maybe that's when you throw in the towel. I don't know, but I just, I'm not, so I think I'm already doing better than last year. We got a lot more of the year to keep going. So get off the big, but that was part of my year, that was part of the great pillar of my year so far.
Long may it continue. Long may it be on the highest of highs for you. Yeah, I totally understand it. Again, if you're enjoying it, you attribute it to podcasting. I think anything that you're doing, that's it, man. That's it. I think people are too worried about social media views, followers, and stuff like that. So I take away what you've said there. Definitely. Justin Clapper has got a question. I'm just going to read it from my phone because he's not pumped it into the live.
Yeah.
Are you wrestling in Vegas WrestleMania week? He asks.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. So that's another, we're trying to up that. Ironically, it kind of seems like a similar year so far. I have, we have a Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis in March. I did that last year. And then I just went to the Arnold Classic, the bodybuilding expo this week. I did, kind of this part of the March, April kind of feels very similar because then, last year I went to WrestleMania. And that was in Vegas. So now we're just right back again. So that's what, another thing. How do I top last year? Last year, it was fantastic, but it is already going to get better because right now I got my hotel paid for. I got my flight paid for. So that's fantastic. And then we already got night 1 of WrestleMania extra work. So last year, I just got to do Friday Night SmackDown, but it was awesome because there was they call it physicality, and that's when like if you get bipped in any way, shape, or form, you get bump pay. So that kind of covered my hotel and flight last year. Now I already got that covered, and we already got extra work, and it's not gonna be SmackDown; it's gonna be WrestleMania. So, I mean, I'm gonna get paid to just watch and be there at WrestleMania and be part of whatever, maybe it was an entrance. Maybe it's, you never know what they have up their sleeve. Maybe it's another masked man. I don't know. But, that's going to be sweet. And then I also do have 2 shows. So Sunday we're going to be, doing a show at the FSW Arena. I believe the event's called Sin City. And, it's going to be at noon. Vegas, so that's gonna be the Sunday show I do. But right now, I still have not found an opponent yet. We are looking for that, so that's gonna be fun. And then, Saturday we're backtracking Mania, and then Friday, they have not announced their show yet, but TJ Perkins.
I do, of course.
So he's got him and his wife. They had a show last year on Fremont Street at midnight on Friday. So, and last year that was a funny incident because have you ever been to Fremont Street in Vegas?
I've not been to Vegas. I've been all over the States for WrestleMania from 2008 to 2016.
Oh, okay.
I didn't manage to get to Vegas. I've done a litany of places across the state, but no, I've not gone to Vegas, oddly.
Okay, are you going this year or no?
No, mate. Family and all that now. When I was a single man, I went every year got failed, but family holidays for me now, Sean, unfortunately.
I see. Okay. So, well, there's Old Vegas and there's New Vegas. So there was a show in Old Vegas called Fremont Street, and that is this very lit up, poppin', awesome area that's just like larger than life. It's a strip. And we had a show at the TJ Perkins him and his wife were hosting the show at midnight, and there's this little like cubby hole where the show was, and I had a buddy of mine named DTV is who I wrestled, and our match ended. However, we brought the action to Fremont Street, and oh man, I'll have to send you the clip after this because I didn't think I'd talk about this. However, a long story short, we took the brawl to the actual street, where the entertainment stuff is happening, and we were brawling out there and crossing the street, and cars are going by, but with my influencer gimmick, I just wanted to go viral, right? That's kind of the goal, I want that viral clip with this influencer gimmick because, that's just what Sean Logan does. So we wrestled on Fremont Street, and we did get detained because a lot of these officers thought we were really, duking blows at it, and so then, we had to kind of tell them that like it was we're having a professional wrestling match on Fremont Street. So but that was a highlight, even though it's probably a low light, but it was a moment, it was a memory that happened. And so yes, I should be wrestling for them again. Probably won't do that again. But we'll be wrestling for them again on Friday, I believe. They have not announced the date yet. And then yeah, I'm just trying to make it a great week because there's WrestleCon, there's the WWE Superstore, there's all these little side events that you can just go watch, and meet and greets and stuff, seminars, new places to try food. I'm a big collector. I'm gonna try to go to the Pawn Stars shop there, a couple toy shops. I'm a big collector guy, so yeah, it's gonna be a great time. And our goal is just the top last year, so. Already got 2 bookings. Already got WrestleMania, and we still got over. So we'll try one more booking.
It's amazing. It's honestly fair play to you, man. And it's testament to you and what you've done and your body work and getting booked, man. And do you know what? It's crazy how many events are there in the cities for WrestleMania. It was a thing when I went, but the amount of variety now and different promotions that are doing it. And it was a thing when I went, don't get me wrong, but I think it's even more, I've noticed in more recent years, that there's so much choice for the fans. Go and see an indie show while you're there. Go and see maybe an indie that you've not seen before, that you're not aware of. That's what I would say.
For real, yeah. And I think it's like, honestly, we're going to have that Mania weekend, and it's a 2-day event. I mean, everyone's kind of already staying out there for 3 days probably. You might as well go try. I mean, I'm sure you got your WWE babies. That's just, and I'm a WWE baby too. I'm obsessed with WWE. So, but I'm sure you got them that are just doing WWE selective events. But there is a lot to really look out for and try to do. Also, we'll see. I guess we got a year to go by, but I wonder how that WrestleMania week's gonna be when WrestleMania is in Saudi Arabia next year. So I wonder if it's actually like. I wonder if all the indies are gonna that, or are they just gonna have a select city where, like GCW has a collective. I don't know if that's happened or any news on that yet, but that should be interesting to see.
Definitely. You said about being a collector. JC had another question. I'm going to tie it in. She's saying, what are some of your favourite pieces of wrestling memorabilia in your collection? Just to tie it in, because you briefly spoke that you collect.
Yeah, man. So I'm obsessed with Undertaker. Okay, so like I'm a big like I don't know. You could see like I collect everything like Undertaker. Okay, I'm he's my guy, he's my dude. So I'm just like really, just trying to get like all the pieces, my dad, he's a huge collector, and he collects everything. We have a restaurant, and it's displayed with a bunch of collectibles, and that's just kind of, a father-son thing that he got me into, so I love collect, and he collects his heroes, and I really only have one hero, and that's The Undertaker. So he's what got me into professional wrestling. I remember sitting there on the bed with my sister and my dad when I was 7, and we're flipping through the channels, and we happened to land on Undertaker. And I just see Taker take out like 4 guys, and I'm like, what? This guy, and I was hooked since, But besides Undertaker, I love the old stuff. I love like you've seen the LJNs, type dealio. And now that they're back, I'm obsessed with them again. But my goal is to get, every single one. So I do love a good bit of LJN figures, and then the Hasbro's well, I guess these are. I guess I randomly have magnets of LJNs too, but yeah. So this is for my car, so I'm trying to. I like putting. I have an Iron Sheik on right now, but definitely trying to just be the wrestling nerd I am, and put a new magnet in my car every month. So, but yeah, I would say the Hasbro. I'm sure you had those '90s Hasbro. Like
oh my God, did I? I tell you
Yeah.
what, my older cousins had the WCW Galoobs, the
Yes.
solid ones.
Oh,
But
okay,
between
yeah.
my cousin of their younger brother, we're 3 months difference in age. We
Yeah.
had 4 rings set up, mate. We had the Hasbro blue ring. We had a WCW Galoob ring with the steel cage with the bell outside. We had
Okay, yeah.
4 rings on the go, and between us, I'll say we had 80, 90 loose figures by the end of it. And
Oh,
then
yes.
all my stuff got given away to my younger cousins later
Oh,
on.
no.
And now my nephew is a big wrestling fan, and I think those figures have gone in the bin. So it's terrible.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
terrible on my part that they're no longer with us, Sean.
Man, that's
I
unfortunate.
know. I'm
Yeah, you have
devastated.
to recollect soon, maybe, or something.
I'm liking the rubber ones from Major Figures. Obviously, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. I'm loving what they're bringing out. All the nostalgic ones. I've had Jacques Rougeau on the show. Obviously,
Yes.
the fabulous Rougeau figures are coming out in July.
Really?
It's
Okay,
great.
sweet.
It's great
Awesome.
going back. It's great going back in time with the figures and bringing them
Yeah,
back
he
in.
does. He does. They do great stuff with that Major Wrestling podcast. I faced last year. I faced God, I'm gonna say Brian Myers. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was nervous. I do remember being really sick that week. I had a 7-day in a row show, or 7 shows in a row. So I started on Wednesday, had a double shot Thursday, and then it went to Monday. And I just remember there were 7 matches in a row. I was terribly sick, Stu. And one of the matches had to be me versus Brian Myers. And, I just wanted to get through it. This is a name, and I was starting to get names. I had Danhausen, I had Brian Myers, Colt Cabana. I'm starting, and that was one of the first ones I ever had. And, we did the match, and it went well. I had a great time, and he was happy with it too, so that was great. But the one thing, I'm this big collector, and not a single peep came my mouth about collecting figures and asking me about figures, and I'm like, what the heck was that? What? So that's probably my one big regret last year. I'm like, why the heck? However, I do like how he, and he's a bigger name, so it's kind of hard, like when he has a match, he collects the figure. If the wrestler has an action figure, he gets them to sign it, right? And that's kind of his dealio. And we have a promoter here in Chicago. That I wrestle for a company called Second Wrestling. The rabbi, he's a rabbi promoter, and the rabbi, every time he has a name, kind of same dealio. If he has a name that's on the show, he gets if they have an action figure, he gets them to sign it. And like with Jay Lethal, I thought about doing that. I got the Jay Lethal action figure, and I thought, hey, maybe I'll do that. And then I'm like, gosh, I can't. It's such a weird unwritten rule. It's like, do you do that? I'm not gonna just give him an action figure to sign right before a match. I can't do that. But it's a hard thing. But yeah, Brian Myers. When I faced him, that was the one thing I really wish I talked about that, because that Major Wrestling figure podcast, they do great stuff.
I'm a photo guy with the wrestlers. I've just 2 weeks ago we were at the For Love of Wrestling in Manchester,
Yeah.
and my God, that is my thing. But I got friends of mine that collect. When we were at WrestleMania in Dallas in 2016 at 32, there was memorabilia there. My friend's got a turnbuckle from WrestleMania 30. He's got a piece
Okay.
of canvas signed. Daniel Bryan signed it. Loads of guys.
Yeah.
He's going to sit on it for years. He would never sell it.
Yeah.
There is guys within my group that collect, but I'm a photo guy. I like going to meet the guys, and that's my thing. You know, across my social media, I've got everything. Getting to see Karrion Kross kill a cross.
Yeah.
getting him to do the Jesse Ventura impression because I absolutely love it. And
Yeah.
just getting to chat to the guys. Like we went on the Sunday, so it was quieter.
Okay.
Saturday is manic. So it was good. It was good going to speak to guys. I had Rob Van Dam on in 2024.
Yes. Yeah.
So getting to meet them, that's my thing, you know.
That's fantastic. I mean, everyone's got their different thing, you know. I was talking to a guy about, you know, I thought it was crazy that like he opens up like his action figures and displays them. I'm like, why are you opening them up? Why aren't you leaving them in the box? And then like, I don't know. And then it's like, you know, I collect like a lot of the old ones I collect loose, and I'm trying to like rationalize that. And I'm like, you know what? Different strokes for different folks, you know, like, you know, everyone's got their thing, you know, and you can't really judge it, you know? So, you know, a picture is a fantastic way, you know. I did end up taking that picture of Jay Lethal instead of, you know, getting the sign of action figure, but, yeah, you're right. You know, that you find your niche, you stick with it, you know, whatever makes you happy.
It's a mind over matter thing. I'm the same. You don't want to encroach too much. You don't want to be. I think in some respects, mate. I think they'd be happy to sign your stuff. But
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, and you're like, I don't want to be too over the top, but I think you should go ahead and do it. I think you should get them to sign some stuff. You know, bite the bullet. Bite the bullet.
Yeah, you can't overthink, you know. I think that's one of my biggest things in life is overthinking. So, you know, the older you get, the more you learn, and you just kind of want to not do that, you know. And that's the thing. I remember, I don't know if you ever do like so I did a show last year. I called it Hot Dog and a Handshake, and I would just interview a wrestler in the locker room, and I asked them 5 questions that I really like was interested about. And I did 50 episodes of it, and I just wanted to do it just to say I did it. You know, it was an idea. Want to knock it out. I like it. Maybe I'll bring it back one day. Maybe I won't. But with that being said, I remember trying to get like a name, you know, on the show, and like I don't know if you ever, as a podcaster, have like do in person stuff, but you know, try like, hey, I do this, yeah, like, and you want to get them, and you know, you don't know if they're gonna be like, oh yeah, $50, or they're gonna be like, I don't got time for that, you know. And that's the overthinking mind, you know. Sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet, like you say, and do it. You never know.
We're very similar in that respect. I'm an overthinker, mate. It's respect. It's a respect thing though as well. But no, that's one thing that I've not done with this. People go mad at me. Why are you not going to one of the promotions, you know, and filming on site and all that? So it's something I need to do. I've been doing this show on and off since 2019, but it's one thing that I need to do. I need to be at these events and do it, you know, on site, as it were.
Yeah. And that was fun. I mean, it was 50 episodes, and you know, I would just ask a wrestler, hey, I just want to ask you 5 questions. And I remember I was starting to get a lot of the WWE ID guys, you know, they'd be on my shows, and I'm trying to like, you know, catch the buzz of them and, you know, just hit them with it, you know, because everyone just got their ID time, you know. So that was fun. But yeah, like, I mean, I think the other thing too, Stu, is like, you know, you want to make sure you're like, it's, you know, we do this stuff in pro wrestling, you know, that like I love pro wrestling, right? But now like it's very rare to see me go to a show that, you know, if I'm not getting the exposure, or if I'm not getting the opponent or the good crowd, or, you know, and really money's whatever, you know. I'm not like it's the last thing I think about when I'm trying, you know. I always think about like the company's exposure, and or if it's a good wrestling opponent, or, you know, a good crowd to sell merch or get some new fans, new followers. Or, and I'll say if they cover your rate, if you are making your wrestling rate, whether that be good or bad. But with that though, it's like I love wrestling, but you also gotta make sure I'm not gonna go wrestle. If none of if I get one of those things I just listed, I'll probably go wrestle, right? But if I'm getting none, usually I love wrestling, but I might not do that show. So you gotta make sure going to an indie show to interview these guys. I'm sure you're capable of doing that and be really good at it. However, I mean, if you're just if the heart's not in it, if you like just being, online, doing it, then just stick to what you like.
Mm. It's about it's obviously having the correct equipment. If I'm going to go and do that, I'd have to have a very good equipment. Yeah, I'm not going to do it on
Yeah.
the mobile. The mobiles are good these days. Don't get me wrong. You can do it. You've got the tripod. You've got the mics, obviously the lapel mics that you can do and stuff. But I think if I'm going to do it, I want it to be packaged right. I take the background with me and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that I need to do. A lot of people have approached me to do it.
Yeah.
So it's cool hearing it from your side. You doing a bit
Yeah.
of media while you're obviously at the shows. It's great. Amazing, mate. Props to you.
It's fun. I mean, do you go to independent shows in general?
Not enough. And I keep promising the guys at Progress. I'm very friendly with a guy called Mike Angus at Progress. Very friendly.
Yeah.
And they have the show in Manchester. They probably do Manchester twice a year. They predominantly do London. The main bulk of the shows are down in London in Camden. But they probably do 2 shows a year in Manchester. It's only an hour and a half away. And I have got to make sure I go this year.
We're gonna, it's gotta be, right? Like I said, you gotta top the last year. So this is part of topping it.
Absolutely. Before we go, how can promoters contact you, and can you plug your social media? I've got to give the good grace. I've got to open the floor to you for that, for promotional purposes.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Stu. Yeah, no, so a social media handle on all accounts is Sabotage Sean. But you could find me. So it's gonna be SABOTAGESEAN. That's the handle. But yeah, you could. That's my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just try to all keep it the same, But if you're ever in the Chicago area, I am I guess I don't want to say I'm a big independent wrestler in the Chicago area. You can probably catch me on every major Chicago show. There's 3 major Chicago promotions, I would say, in my opinion. I would say it's AAW Pro, Freelance Wrestling, and Dreamwave Wrestling. And I would say I'm the only wrestler, at least guaranteed the only male professional wrestler that's wrestling for all 3 of them right now. So I take pride in that because, a lot of companies, they'll get upset, when you're stepping on each other's toes, or they, or it's hard to find time to wrestle for each of all 3 companies, or even get on, you gotta go help set the ring. You gotta go impress the promoter of your opportunity. You gotta make sure you have a good gimmick because that promoter doesn't like that gimmick. So you gotta be, up, that's what I take pride in. But your professional wrestling companies. So yeah, Chicago, if ever there, I'm probably wrestling on that promotion, Then, we're trying to expand, with in St. Louis, Glory Pro, and in Ohio, we'll do one called Spot Monkey, and Norfolk, Wisconsin. I'll probably do a GLCW. That's where our buddy Justin Clapper, that area is, in Minnesota, just trying to get all of them. And then I honestly my goal is like the old wrestling territories, right? You had that. I want to kind of, I want to have my territories, but I want to wrestle. I look at each major city, and I'm a sucker for wrestling in a major city. So I just want to wrestle for the best promotion in each major city and kind of just do that. And that's the only one of that city I wrestle for, because it is hard to wrestle for everyone. There's, so many shows going on. There's only 52 Saturdays a year, so it's like you got to pick and choose your battles. So with that being said, yeah, I mean, Sabotage Sean's my socials, and you know, you can find me on there and where I'm wrestling in the Midwest. And maybe you'll see me on a Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown soon too, because I do have April. I do have a few coming up. April, I might be doing the Madison Square Garden in New York. March 30th, April 3rd's Friday Night SmackDown St. Louis, and then we got the WrestleMania in Vegas. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Amazing. And more power to you. Doing fantastically well. It's great. It's great to finally have you on the show. I've been aware of you for quite a while. Justin has sung your praises for years now. We are Facebook friends as well. I noticed that. So yeah, finally, we've managed to get the episode done together. It's been brilliant. I've liked that diving into the collecting as well, coming away from your pro wrestling career, and just more props to you and all the best for 2026. And
Awesome,
have a fantastic time at WrestleMania week as well. Not just wrestling, as a fan, just amazing. Thank you so much for coming on Stu's Wrestling Podcast.
I will. Thank you, Stu. It was a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
My guest today has been Sean Logan, aka Sabotage, on Stu's Wrestling Podcast. We are on the Sports Social Podcast Network, Europe's biggest podcast network. If you're not affiliated and you've got a sports-based show, join them. They're amazing. They've looked after us. They've looked after my other shows, my soccer show, my MMA and boxing show as well. So yeah, just before we go, and I don't forget them, just end on that one. And yeah, thank you so much, Sean. It's been amazing having you on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.